Fox News alert just moments ago on Twitter. Elon Musk just dropped part 6 of the Twitter files. Matt Taibbi is publishing them, and there are some bombshells. Documents prove the FBI was directly colluding with Twitter to shut down our speech. In just 2 years, Twitter's top censorship chief had over 150 emails from the FBI. 150. That's the kind of close relationship we call friends with benefits. His inbox was filled with emails like this. FBI San Francisco is notifying you the below accounts may potentially constitute violations of Twitter's terms of service. Really? Was Twitter working for the FBI or was the FBI working for Twitter? I don't know. The FBI was demanding Twitter censor jokes. Look at this tweet. The FBI asked Twitter to delete proposed container ship if there's a worldwide recession. Really? Why does the Federal Bureau of Investigation care about jokes? Were they offended? Sex traffickers and terrorists are hatching plots, and the FBI has agents combing through social media for punchlines. Did Twitter say, hey, feds, we're a little busy here. Can you go bother Facebook? No. They said, yes, sir. Whatever you want me to do, sir. Even when Twitter scrambled for some justification for these stupid requests, and they couldn't find anything, the FBI gave them a bunch of homeland security mumbo-jumbo about Russian disinformation and domestic violent extremists, and it worked like a charm. Every time, accounts got nuked. There were a few Russian bots in 2016. Remember the bots that Hillary said cost her the election? So the FBI reacted this way. They cranked up a task force with 80 agents assigned to Twitter headquarters. 80 agents. The FBI had more agents at Twitter than Twitter had lobbyists in D.C. The FBI taking in-person meetings every week, handing over lists of names to censor to Twitter over lunch. This was happening as late as November 5th of this year. All this was going down while former FBI agents were working at Twitter, and the former top lawyer at the FBI was Twitter's top lawyer, James Baker. You know, the guy who killed the Hunter laptop and let loose the dossier. And when Elon Musk said he didn't buy a company, he bought a crime scene, he wasn't kidding. Let's turn it over to Buck Sexton. Buck Sexton, I mean, this is a guy who looks like he works for Twitter, and behind the scenes he goes, I can't believe the FBI is policing jokes on Twitter. That's crazy. And that is crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. I mean, there's a lot of dark humor involved here. For one, the FBI has no sense of humor. But also, this goes to a much more serious level because it seems the response of the FBI's massive failure in 2016 with regard to Russia collusion, the giant lie, the FISA warrants, all that stuff, Jesse, that you and I and everybody watching remembers, their response to meddling in all that in 2016, and I would argue trying to obviously help Hillary or bring down Trump, was to create an 80-person task force to do more election meddling the next time around, to avoid misinformation. The FBI is not in the speech policing business, or rather shouldn't be in that business. And now we have the smoking gun evidence. You know, what was it? 2 weeks ago, they were saying it's not a First Amendment violation if it's just the Biden campaign telling them to bring down accounts. It's a big First Amendment violation when the equivalent of our secret police are telling a private company, you've got to get rid of these people and take action against them. This is crazy.
And not only that, that they broke out the Hunter deal, they were going after things like some guy made a joke and said, don't forget to get out there and vote on Wednesday when the election was Tuesday. You know, it's like a joke. They were going after that guy. They had 80 guys on that guy. Think about all the stuff they're missing, Buck. What are they missing? Every time you hear up these guys shooting up nightclubs or, you know, trafficking in underage girls, you're thinking, where's the FBI? The FBI is here at Twitter having lunch and censoring jokes.
I mean, we have the worst fentanyl, worst methamphetamine problems right now in the history of the country and have had that for years. The cartels are more powerful than at any time in memory. And the FBI's got 80 guys making sure you can't make jokes about the election.
Yeah.
This is something that I think cries out for congressional oversight and action. The House Republicans coming in need to drag some people over the coals on this one. I mean, they have to actually get serious about how could this have happened. Remember, we had the DHS Misinformation Board. Clearly, after 2016, there were deep state elements within the federal bureaucracy that decided to double down on all this. They really seem to believe that they have a right to tell us what we can and can't say, what can and can't be shared online. That has massive implications. These people talk about our sacred democracy all the time. One of the best ways to undermine it is to have the federal police force policing jokes, telling people they can't make fun of the opposition party or the party in power. So this is a massive problem. And now we see just how close and cozy the relationship was between what's effectively the intelligence community here. The FBI is a part of it, and big tech collusion, and also the wokesters at the very top. You see this once again. These people have no sense of humor. They are malcontents. They are bitter about life. And they will turn the FBI on you for a joke. Now we know it's true.
And the FBI is a joke, and that's what's sad. And now it looks like Elon nuked a bunch of mainstream reporter accounts because they were doxing him, telling everybody where his jet was landing in real time, and they're all whining about it. How do you think that's going to play out?
Well, you know, Jesse, these are the same people, the same voices on the left who say that misgendering is literally violence or using the wrong pronoun. That's violence. That has to be policed on Twitter and on any social media platform. But sharing the real-time information of the richest man in the world who's an obvious political target, while he's with his family, by the way, while he's with his children, they pretend like there aren't immediate safety implications from that. So it's unsafe if you say something that hurts liberal feelings, but it's very safe to talk about where Elon Musk is traveling at any point in time when he's become a lightning rod and a very controversial figure. I think an incredibly brave and important one in this country. But that just goes to show you there's no principles involved here. There's just the desperate leftist demand and the outcry for power. And they've lost some of it here with Twitter. Elon has taken one of their favorite toys away, and they're crying about it a lot.
It really is true. Thank you so much, Buck. Great analysis.
Always good to see you, Jesse.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.